But my issue is it's still not a sport.
It's a real world.
It is not really socializing.
I'm not quite sure what it is you do.
In the meantime, go outside and play.
And video games are a real problem.
That's not a sport.
Come back, it seems lately more and more people are capitalizing on the popularity of video games. Now a group of teen gamers is hoping to turn their hobby and make that help them pay for college.
That's awesome. Leah Durain introduces us to a unique team at Cast Tech High.
Oh! Just a four there! Nice.
If I was able to go back in time and tell the 11-year-old version of myself, or even the 14-year-old version of myself, what I'd be able to accomplish within the next 4 years, I simply wouldn't believe myself. Howdy, my name is Fernando Garcia. I'm the club president and the esports director of Cast Tech Gaming. So before Cast Tech, I was homeschooled my whole entire life, and I was doing well academically up until a certain point once I reached the age of 11 years old because something personal happened to me. During this time period, I didn't have as close with friends as I thought I did, but I only kept 2 of them from this time range in my life still to this day. One of them is named John, and he introduced me to the esports scene back when I was 11. And once I got introduced to it, I fell in love with it, and that's what brought me happiness. And that's what I wanted to bring to others once we were able to develop this club. So competing from online events to going in LAN events, my team was pretty well, and we're doing really, really well for ourselves up until the point where I ended up going to high school, and I realized I had too much on my plate, so I ended up leaving the team. When I started my esports journey, I ended up starting in Halo 4, eventually transferring over to Halo 5, and then Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, as well as BO3. That's where I had my peak in Call of Duty, and I was watching my best friend John stream this one game, and I thought it was a Battlefield 4 expansion pack or the other Battlefield game, and I was like, yo, what game are you playing? It turns out he played Rainbow Six Siege, and since then I've been hooked to the game. Some people at the school eventually found out how well I was doing for myself in the esports scene, and it was actually during class, more specifically PE, when 2 individuals came up to me and asked me if I wanted to help them build a gaming club and join the high school esports league, which is a national competition that's all year round and compete in Rainbow Six. And I was like, sure, why not? Let's just see what ends up happening. We ended up going to our coach, and we immediately received a no. The main reason why we received that flat out no was just simply because they weren't passing. I was the only one that had good grades at this time, flying A's and 1 or 2 B's, and the rest of them, they just simply weren't cutting even the passing rate. I was like, okay, that's okay, we can definitely go out to different teachers, and we just received no after no after no, simply because either they didn't believe in esports, they thought it was a waste of time, or they associated us gamers with those who aren't successful in school.
Everyone believes that esports is just basically a misconception of time, where it's just literally eats, like, say for instance, homework time versus, actual sports like football.
Misconception of gamers is like how people think it's all lazy and you can't really go anywhere with it.
The idea that gamers are dumb or lazy. A lot of people seem to think that, but at least in the gaming club, we have several people who are in NHS. It actually takes a lot of brains to play a lot of these games. And I can tell you that they're not lazy. They do their homework, but they also, they both play hard and work hard.
And us just doing what we've done already is already proving that wrong.
One of the reasons why a lot of individuals actually found out that I was good at Rainbow Six or gaming in general was actually a pretty funny story. This actually happened during lunchtime. So I was just minding my own business, and then I see this huge crowd gathered around this one table, and you hear a big commotion going on. So me being curious, I ended up going to the table, and there's these 2 individuals that had their laptops set up, running Siege, running 1v1s. I simply got challenged because they thought they were better than me, and I was like, okay, sure, whatever, just pass me a controller and I'll see how well I'll do against a PC player. I ended up dominating the competition, and that was one of the most successful shots I've ever hit, and a lot of people ended up appreciating how well I was as a player. Flash forward a few months later, it's February, and there was this kind of flu outbreak that was happening. A lot of teachers were going out sick, and also a lot of students were going out sick. I was one of the students that wasn't feeling well because of the flu. Before I left, I wanted to catch up on all the homework that I was going to be missing because I knew I was going to be missing a few days off of school. So I walk into the physics classroom, and I just see this dude just standing there.
The other thing I thought was, obviously I think everyone kind of thought this was his man bun. I mean, I was like, what, I mean, I guess some people have man buns, but then eventually when I saw his hair down, I'm like, what in the world? This guy looks like Tarzan.
I thought he was a student, like girl. When I first walked in, he had his hair down. Until like I like walked past him and looked behind me and saw it was Ramos. So I was like, hold up.
Oh my gosh, Mr. Ramos. It's kind of a funny story. Like, it's a really long story, but essentially the first thing I kind of really thought, well, there was a couple things. I was very impressed with him just because he actually memorized my name within the first day. By the second class period I had him with, he was already saying Joseph. And I was like, wow, how did this guy memorize all our names already? And at the time, he wasn't even supposed to be like the main teacher. He was supposed to be a substitute teacher for like 2 weeks. So that was even more impressive that he took the energy to even do that.
He really is. He's like a bigger brother for everyone.
Thinking nothing of it, and then I come back 2 weeks later, and this dude's still there.
Ben Ramos, Benedicto Ramos. In the club, just sponsoring the club, I guess, being the head sponsor or main sponsor.
I had this first interaction with him. I was asking, hey, who are you? Are you substituting again? And he asked me who I was, if I was attending the school even, because we have 3 schools on our one campus, and if I was skipping the class. Once we got our stories figured out, we ended up hitting it off, and we found out that both of us loved video games, more specifically Halo. Throughout our conversation, we continued talking about video games, and he asked me on how much I enjoyed Halo, if I still played it a lot, and I was like, yeah, here and there, but my main game is Rainbow Six Siege. And there's just this random kid that ended up popping into the conversation asking me if I wanted to play.
James Hiller, 17, 12th grade. It all started with us, like, I kind of talked to him, we kind of just all hopped on Rainbow.
I knew some of the Rainbow Six players at our school, and most of them weren't that good. And I had a huge ego at the time. So like, it's okay. They're not that good. They're kind of a waste of time. But they had one of my homies that was going to be joining up later that night, so I'm like, fine, I'll join. Didn't realize how much that would impact my life. So me being me, I wanted my stats as best as possible.
And he wanted to make another Smurf account because we were all really low ranks.
I was the only plat player while everyone else was bronze, silvers, or even coppers. And I was like, I'm not gonna throw my stats away, I'm gonna make a new account. And that's when James ended up coming with the idea.
Can't remember if it was me or someone else that brought up, hey, we should just make a school team. So we kind of all made accounts CT, whatever. So for mine, CT Necros.
Little did he know is that I was already in talks to having a gaming club program at the school for the following year.
It was y'all's freshman year. I was permanent subbing for physics, and y'all had thrown around the idea of starting a gaming club. I think getting like a petition or at least some list of names of people who would have been interested in it, and then asking me if I would sign on. And I said yes. I know we needed a real certified teacher to sign on, so that's when Coach Trevino was the sponsor, and I was co-sponsor underneath it.
It was the final week of our freshman year, and Dr. Call approached me. She said, hey Fernando, you're good to go. We approve you to go and create this gaming club and esports program your next school year, which is going to be a sophomore year, and you're going to have 2 club sponsors, Coach Trevino and Mr. Ramos. And when I was told this, it was one of the best feelings in the world, because after receiving so many no's from different teachers and admins overall, having to go to meetings over and over and over again to fight for what I really wanted to create opportunities for myself and for others to receive that happiness and joy that I felt when I started competing in esports, it was a feeling like none other. The victory to this long battle felt even better because I just bought my ticket to go to Classic Game Fest with actually the club vice president, who's also my best friend, Joseph Rodriguez. This is during the time of my freshman year. I had a few best friends starting to come up, but definitely Joseph and John are my go-tos. They still are my go-to buddies, but the roster has definitely expanded on how many homies I got.
Press F to pay respect.
My name is Joseph Rodriguez. I'm currently 17 and I'm a senior in high school. So for the Castech Gaming Club, I'm the vice president as well as the tournament organizer. So I run all the Smash tournaments at the school, and I also post Smash Brothers combo videos to my YouTube channel as well. So my gamer tag is Average Joe. It's kind of a long story, but it's also very simple. Essentially, when I was about 12 years old, I wanted to have a gamer tag because I had other gamer friends who all had gamer tags, And then one day I was watching a show. It's called American Ninja Warrior. There was one competitor there named Joe, and they were like, he's not your average Joe. So that was the first time I heard the expression, and I was like, that's like a sick tag. Like I could use that as a tag. It's kind of ironic because I'm kind of like downplaying myself, but it's also like average isn't so bad at the same time. There's the biggest retro video gaming convention in Texas called Classic Game Fest. They were hosting Melee tournaments, and from the very second that I started playing Melee, or at least like the first day, I already knew I wanted to play competitively. So after that, I bought the game. I went home from this video game convention, and I just trained like 24/7 for about 2 weeks until I learned all the techniques. I started going to tournaments to improve, and yeah, this was about August 1st of 2018 that I've been playing. I think for the most part, before I play a game, I mostly just try to make sure I'm, well fed, well rested. A lot of times when I go to tournaments, I like to bring like a water bottle full of some Kool-Aid, just in case I get thirsty, because you do get thirsty a lot of the time, especially since those tournaments take several hours sometimes. I also like to wear, whenever I go to the Melee tournaments every Monday, I like to wear one specific pair of socks every time. Before I went to CGF, I thought I was pretty good at Brawl, and I thought how much different can Melee be. Brawl had Toon Link, who I made at the time, and Melee had Juggling. So I was like, I'm just gonna play that character and do good. I was the best in my family, so I was like, okay, I probably won't do too bad. I didn't expect to win or anything, but I thought I could do pretty good. When I went there, so I started playing against some people, and round one, honestly, I was so nervous, I kind of felt like throwing up. Going to Classic Game Fest, I not only gained this passion for playing Melee competitively, but I also realized how much fun tournaments can be. And I kind of wanted to bring that back to the club as well. And so after I heard that, I basically contacted Fernando because I knew that he was trying to get this gaming club started. And I was like, okay, we need to have Smash Bros. Tournaments at the school because that's going to be a lot of fun, I already know. I can't really explain just like the nerves you feel when playing in a tournament, but it's really something you kind of have to get used to.
James, you good, bro?
No, I'm not.
Josh,
What's up?
look at me.
Bruh, whose man is this?
Sorted. Say sorted. 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 Sorted.
So previously, before joining the Castech team, I actually competed at Microsoft quite frequently here and there for Call of Duty, Gears of War events, and a few other events. So I ended up developing a good relationship with John Chris at Microsoft, and he is one of the most passionate people that I know that's in the esports scene. I'm so happy to have met him. He actually reached out to me saying, hey, I know you've been asking for Rainbow Six, and I know that you have a Rainbow Six team available at your school. We're actually going to be hosting a Rainbow Six event on Thursday, September 6th. Would you guys be interested? And I said immediately on the spot, yes. And that's the day where our lives changed. So leading up to the event, we were getting in some decent practice as best as we could, especially with people's time schedules not as available as it is currently to date, because during this time, not a lot of the family members thought that esports was a legitimate thing, that they could go further in life with esports.
Like a couple times after school, we would go up to the huddle room and just kind of like draw out the entire map on the whiteboard, and then go over some strats we can do and things like that and what we're going to do. And then I remember going to the Microsoft store right before every time we go, we would always head up to the huddle room, gather there, and kind of talk things over before we get picked up.
I remember that same day, we were all in the group chat and we were trying to remind each other, hey, don't forget your t-shirt, don't forget your t-shirt, because we had a Castech t-shirt so that we could all have like a jersey type style. And we're taking photos of our shirts saying, yo, I got mine on. And it was just an awesome experience overall. I remember going to this event, I had a lot of pressure on myself personally because I was a club president and also I was a Rainbow Six captain. So if we did not do well at this event, our gaming club could be shut down just because we're wasting our time. The best feelings that I've ever had in my life Where we're sitting is that we had all 5 setups lined up, and I can see everyone's screens. And right behind us is the main screen, and you see our gameplay going on in the background. Unfortunately, we can't, but we can actually see the crowd, and there's about 40 or so individuals, so that definitely puts some pressure on all of us, especially me, because if I was able to make a mistake, then it'll be shown to everyone. The craziest thing that happened to me was my best game that I've ever performed in Rainbow Six actually happened on my first game at the event.
So for the Microsoft store it was always at Lock and Terra. So our pregame ritual kind of thing was we always went to Luciano's because it was right where we got dropped off. It was pretty good food. And then on our way to the Microsoft store, we would stop at Lolly and Pop's candy store, and then this big golden bear in the back that said like "rub for good luck," and we would all rub it.
I had butterflies at the very beginning of the match, like before anything else happened, because they looked like they knew what they were doing, but honestly, they kind of didn't. And we destroyed them, and I was like, oh, okay. And then the butterflies kind of sued from that to just straight on gaming.
See, not gonna lie, I didn't notice it when I was in game, because I was like so focused in game. Even between rounds, I was just so focused. I didn't notice till after the game I looked up, where like between rounds I would look up and see them. I'm like, why are they all here?
Shaking. I was shaking. Yeah. Mainly from the excitement, but also from the amount of adrenaline going through my body, because I was trying to focus as hard as I can, but ultimately really couldn't because of like social anxiety. It felt amazing because I've always had a dream of being like in a big light, like kind of like Optic or FaZe, mainly FaZe because they've been around for years. Like being able to sit down in front and having people view you and watch how you play. Like, at all, and like or being a commentator even, because I remember I was a commentator for like a little bit. It was amazing. Loved it.
It was kind of funny, but like especially when like you would kill him, you could hear him like get mad or something. But as soon as like you hear that, like it was kind of funny, but I just had to go back to focusing on the game.
So the first round I ended up starting off is getting the first 4 kills ever for Cast Gaming. In our final attacking round, I ended up pushing a 1v4, putting us up onto match point, and that has been one of the best feelings that I've ever had in my life. I ended up dropping 16 kills, 1 assist, and 2 deaths in that first map. So overall having an 8.5 KDA. And I was shaking the whole entire time due to adrenaline and how happy I was.
I wasn't much, but one thing I do want to highlight on that like I was surprised seeing this in our very first game is the amount of communication between us in the very first game and how well that worked. Like for a very first like tournament game, I wasn't expecting that. I thought it would be like a show.
I was shocked mainly about the 6-0 because we devastated them on that. Then when it came down to Oregon, it started getting kind of close. Like they were getting mad. You could tell their skill kicked up very high. It was not mainly hearing them. It's kind of like looking above the monitor to see what they do, and you can just tell the anger written all over their face, especially if the big play happened on them. Like back to what I was talking about the other team. One that had that one female and the 3 gentlemen and the one in the red jacket. I remember we did that big play on them, and the man in the red jacket, like first off, before anything else happened, he looked at me kind of like did that, and he was kind of like marking me to say like watch out. I remember we messed him up so bad. He threw his hoodie up, put the controller down, and just walked out of the entire building, left his team.
I remember I was drinking a lot of lemonade going to the event, and during the event, so I needed to go take a break. So I ended up going to the restroom, come back, and I just see the team that we just played against, and they all walk up to me saying, "Good game, we're not going to play the rest of our map, you're insane, good luck in grand finals, you should become a pro league player." And they all fist bumped me, and then they left the Microsoft store. I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty weird. So I ended up joining my teammates. I'm like, yo, they're not joining the event, and apparently they didn't even give my teammates a good game fist bump or anything after that event.
So yeah, they kind of just did leave the store just like as soon as they lost. I think it's because of the 6-0. But yeah, they just left. And I was just kind of surprised they just kind of up and left like that. But yeah, other than that, good game.
Yeah, no, they just straight up they just got up with, they just walked out. Like they had their accounts still signed in.
We clapped them so hard. If they were silvers, we made them rage out of the building.
I mean, they could have just gone E.
Made them rage out of the, even if they went to go eat, they didn't stay here for very long. They said that was embarrassing. They walked out. The funny thing is, those were college kids going up against high schoolers.
I even went up to them and said, good game.
And I know you're recording right now.
Yeah, this is for the content.
I know our mindset going into grand finals was definitely a shaky experience because we knew that the team that we would be facing was really, really well. I was able to scout them beforehand and during the event. So our main idea to go into grand finals was to find out who the best player was, which was Soldier, if I'm not mistaken. And we ended up banning his main so that he wouldn't be able to perform as well as he was previously.
If we go next round, we need to get Vigil and hands down.
Oh, they're banning Mira.
How can you tell?
No, it's just switching.
They switched.
Orange team, this animation.
Yeah, Orange Team was originally the people that were supposed to play against map 1 or match 1.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, so those are supposed to be the gold
They're banning
ones?
Jaeger. Okay.
Oh, those are supposed to be the diamonds.
I'm scared.
What?
Well, we're about to get to.
What
No,
team?
no, no. Oh, yeah, Jaeger.
Don't be scared.
They're playing Bake right now.
You think they're gonna do Fuse? I'm pretty sure they're gonna go Fuse.
They're probably gonna go. Oh, let's go see.
Do we have someone that
Bro, how much time do you have on dock?
65 hours.
Alright.
Wait, I gotta show you Habana.
That's Ibana?
Yeah.
So just verifying, on how you shoot, you just click this button, right?
Yeah. You click this one, but if you want to aim, you press this one multiple times.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
We're having some technical issues, but by the end of the night, we agreed that Castech ended up winning. We're up like 4-2, 3-2, something like that, but I know the rounds were definitely close neck to neck, and it was typically only one person left alive on the battlefield. This event was one of the best events held by Microsoft, but the one thing I have to criticize is those chairs.
It's like I didn't like those chairs. Those chairs were, they were subpar. I mean, it was interesting trying to sit in them, but then after a while your ass started to hurt and it got like that numb feeling, so you're trying to like kind of like shuffle midway through the match. And then like afterwards you would get up and you would have such a numbness that if you try to get in the car seat, you'd be sitting all weird.
Okay, so all the events at Microsoft, we had to play on these. It was like briefcases with Xbox and a monitor inside. The monitor was kind of bad. Really low brightness and like aimed down, so the brightness was even worse. And the chairs had no backrest. It was like benches basically. So the entire time, because the monitor was so low, we would all just have to hunch over really close to the monitor to see. And I know one of our Aragorn, he was like this far away from his monitor, just like his face right up against it.
So actually heading into this event, a lot of people knew that I was one of the best players on the roster at this current state of time, and they were actually criticizing me for teaming with the individuals that I teamed with. So this event kind of shut up those haters, but it actually kind of opened up a hole into our play style. A lot of individuals were saying, oh, you're just best in city, but can you replicate that at a state or even a national level? So that definitely created some chaos in the mix, and that definitely motivated all of us and fueled that fire that we all were already starting to develop. But competing on LAN is completely different than competing online. You get to see all of the audience members' faces, you get to see the other team's faces, you can get up and high-five your teammates, you can start screaming like, oh my gosh, I'm the best. It is also, the game itself is completely different. Personally, I'm a LAN player compared to an online player, but if you have the opportunity to, definitely compete on LAN.
Playing in person versus online. You get to feel the eyes watching you mainly. You get to see the emotions of the other team right in front of you or to the side of you, depending where you are. And you really feel like you have to be on it, so your skill really shows out in that versus more of an online view.
Online, I feel like there's too many variables. Like people people's Wi-Fi going out, people not actually just showing up and can't get in contact with them. I personally like it better on LAN, and people say that they can't really do that because of the noise, but I'm able to just kind of block it out.
My family has always been supportive of me in traditional sports such as taekwondo, archery, and even paintball, and they were supportive since the very beginning of me going into the esports scene. Now, once I won that first $125, that definitely opened their eyes to the opportunities that esports has. And me joining this team definitely changed my life forever.
Oh, they hated it. Oh, they hated it so much. They don't like me playing games, but mainly my biggest support out of everyone else would be my mom. Like, she was the only one that was sitting there like, yeah, go ahead, do this, do what you want to do.
Winning that event definitely changed our lives and definitely created history at our school because that was our first competition playing under Cast Tech, and that was our first win ever. So that definitely carried over the momentum for the following week, which would be our first meeting. I can say with confidence that one tournament win helped us build our club from the ground up.
We will build it once again.